On any busy construction site, you've got these two documents floating around, the checklist and the ITR. And man, do they cause some serious confusion. They kind of look the same, right? But mixing them up, well, that can lead to some massive headaches. So let's break it down and figure out what's what and why you absolutely need to know the difference.
Okay, picture this. You're out on site. You're standing right at the edge of some freshly laid rebar and formwork. The concrete truck is literally rumbling down the road. This pour, it has to be perfect. So, how do you make sure it is? And maybe even more importantly, how do you prove it? I'm not just talking about proving it to your boss. I mean, proving it to the client and, hey, maybe even an auditor 5 years from now. The whole secret is in knowing your paperwork.
All right, so let's dive into these two key documents. They're really at the heart of all quality management on site. Think of it like this. One is all about preparation. It's your game plan for getting ready. The other, that's your proof. It's the official, undeniable record that you knocked it out of the park.
Look, if you only remember one single thing from this whole explainer, make it this right here. A checklist that helps you get ready. An ITR that proves the work was done right and, crucially, approved. It's that simple. It's the difference between studying for the final exam and handing in the actual paper that gets you your grade.
Okay, let's start with the first player in this game, the checklist. I want you to think of this as your team's secret weapon. It's your personal prep tool to make sure everything is absolutely spot on before anyone official comes to take a look.
So what is it, really? A checklist is basically a step-by-step guide your team uses internally. It's there to make sure nothing, and I mean nothing, gets missed. You know, stuff like, is the rebar tied off right? Is the formwork braced properly? It's all about your team's own due diligence before you call in the inspectors.
All right, so the key things to know about a checklist really tell the whole story. First off, it's an internal guide. It's fantastic for catching silly mistakes, and honestly, it's a lifesaver for training new folks. But here's the crucial part, listen up. It is not an official quality record, and it's almost never required by the contract. It's for you and your team, not for the official project file. Big difference.
Okay, now for the other document, the ITR. That stands for Inspection and Test Record. And if the checklist was the prep, well, the ITR is the proof. This is the official heavyweight champion of site documents. It's the one that has to be bulletproof and stand up to any and all scrutiny.
I mean, the definition really says it all. An ITR is a formal quality record. Its entire job, its reason for existing, is to prove that a specific inspection or test actually happened, that it passed with flying colors, and that all the right people officially signed off on it. See? There's no wiggle room there. It's black and white.
Just look at how different these features are compared to the checklist. An ITR is formally tied to the project's master quality plan, the ITP. It's legally auditable. It demands signatures from multiple people, and it becomes a permanent part of the final handover package, you know, the MDR. We are talking about the major leagues of documentation here.
Okay, so we've established they're different. But this is exactly where things go wrong on projects all the time. So, let's get into it. We're going to bust the 5 biggest myths that lead to delays, rework, and just massive compliance headaches.
All right, first up, myth number 1. This is the big one, the one that starts all the trouble. They're basically the same thing. Wrong. This one mistake is the root of all evil here.
The reality, they couldn't be more different. A checklist is an informal prep tool. An ITR, that's a formal quality record. It's contractual evidence. Let me say it again. One helps you get ready, the other proves you did it.
And that leads us right into myth number 2, which is maybe the most dangerous one of all. The idea that a finished checklist can just replace an ITR. Like you can just hand it over and say, all right, we're good to go.
Let me be absolutely crystal clear on this. No way, a checklist will never be accepted as official evidence. Not in an audit, not for the final handover. Only a properly signed, fully executed ITR has the traceability and the formal weight to make it into that final MDR package. If you try to swap one for the other, you're just setting yourself up for a major compliance failure. Okay, on to myth number 3. This one's all about signatures. You know, that common feeling that every single piece of paper needs to get sent up the chain to the client for their sign-off. The reality is actually a lot simpler. A checklist, that's usually just an internal thing. Maybe your site supervisor signs it, and that's it. But an ITR, whoa, different story. That one absolutely requires multiple signatures. We're talking the contractor, the client, maybe even a third-party certifier. It all depends on what's being inspected. All right, let's zoom out to the big picture for a second. Every project has a quality roadmap, right? It's called the ITP, the Inspection and Test Plan. And myth number 4 is that both checklists and ITRs are formal, official parts of that plan.
Here's the thing. The ITP is a formal plan, so it demands formal evidence. That means only ITRs are officially linked to it as the actual proof, the verifying record. Checklists, they're just supporting actors. They're fantastic tools to help you get the ITR right the first time, but they aren't part of the official plan itself.
And that brings us to our final myth, number 5. This is all about that moment everyone loves, when the auditors show up. There's this assumption that, hey, if it's a form with boxes and check marks, it must be audit evidence, right? All equally important.
But here's the crucial distinction. When an auditor walks in looking for compliance, they're going to go straight for the ITRs. That is the primary evidence they need to see. A checklist might get a glance, sure, it shows good process, but it's the ITR that is the non-negotiable, auditable proof they're looking for.
Okay, so we've busted all the myths. Now let's see how this actually works in the real world. How do these two documents, our prep tool and our proof, work together perfectly? Let's go back to that concrete pour we talked about. Here's the perfect workflow, step by step. Step 1, your team prepares using the checklist. You go through every item, making sure all the rebar and formwork is spot on. Step 2, once your team is confident it's ready, you formally raise the ITR to request the official inspection. Step 3, everybody comes to site. The client, the inspectors, they look at the work, and they sign the ITR as proof that it's accepted. And finally, step 4, that signed ITR gets filed away. It's now a permanent, auditable record. See how that works? Preparation flows right into proof. It's beautiful.
So why does all this matter? Why go to the trouble? Well, the payoff is absolutely huge. First, you get way fewer reworks because the checklist helps you catch problems before they become big ones. You stay organized, you stay compliant because your paperwork actually makes sense. It helps create consistency across all your teams. And maybe the biggest one of all, you build serious trust with your client. You're showing them you have a professional, rock-solid quality process. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about on your own project. Are you just preparing for quality, or are you actually proving it? Because really, the answer to that question changes everything.